Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. So I was scrolling the internet the other day. You know how we do, just falling down that food rabbit hole. And I kept seeing this viral pasta recipe everywhere. It looks so fresh and vibrant, y'all. I just couldn't get it out of my head. So I didn't actually find a written out recipe for this. I just watched what they was throwing in the pot, and I just decided to follow my heart and go ahead and try it out. So today we're making what I'm calling a fresh tomato cream pasta from scratch. Now, this isn't that heavy jar tasting stuff. This is a bright, light, and honestly one of the best things I've made in a while. So we're starting with the basics. Vine ripened tomatoes, a whole onion, plenty of garlic, and some fresh basil. Now, this is going to be your foundation. Think of it like building a house. Once your base is solid, you can build whatever profile you want on top of that. I started by prepping my onion and getting it to small, even pieces so it melts right into the sauce later. Then I moved on to these tomatoes. I separated them from the vine, gave them a good rinse, and then I removed the core from the top of each one. Now, here's a little pro tip for you. Always remove the core because it's tough and it's woody, and it don't break down during the cooking process. If you leave it in there, you're going to find these hard little chunks in your smooth sauce later, and nobody want that surprise in their pasta, trust me. Now, let's talk about this basil. I was at Kroger, and usually I just grab the little plastic packages of leaves from the produce section, but it's a new year, it's officially springtime, and I saw the whole basil plant sitting there looking all lush, and I figured why not? For the same price, I can keep the whole plant, clip what I need, and let it keep growing for me. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So I clipped a good handful and rinsed them off, stacked the leaves, rolled them up tight like a cigar, and sliced them into these thin little ribbons. And I set them aside for the very end so they stay bright and sweet. Now, I went ahead and got about 3 tablespoons of avocado oil in my pot, and I placed the tomatoes in there core side down. So you want to let those sit for about 10 minutes on medium high heat. So we're looking for the heat to do the work until the skin start to shrivel and separate from the meat of the tomato. Now, I started out using tongs because that's what I saw in the videos I watched. But y'all, the tongs were just taking too long. I ended up throwing on some gloves and using the best tools the Most High gave me, my hands. It was so much easier just to reach in and peel the skins off. Now, it was hot, don't get me wrong, but I think I finally reached that age where I have iron hands, y'all. You know what I'm talking about. Like our grandmas used to have. They could reach right into a hot oven or a boiler pot like it wasn't nothing. And I felt that energy today. So once those were mostly peeled, I threw in a handful of frozen garlic cloves. Then I took my potato masher and just went to town on them tomatoes. I got them all broken down and in with the chopped onions and our spices. I added about a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon and a half of dried oregano, and about a teaspoon and a half of sea salt as well. I also added 3 teaspoons of sugar with about, I'd say, a pinch of red pepper flakes. And I let that base simmer for about 10 to 12 minutes to let them flavors get to know each other. Now, while that was happening, I started on my pasta water. And instead of just adding salt, I added some chicken bouillon powder that I had left over in the cabinet that I really needed to get rid of. So I added that to the water. You know, it's a small step, but it seasons the pasta from the inside out. And I just want y'all to know that I have been reading the comments that y'all been leaving under the videos. And I am taking into account that I move kind of fast when I upload the shorts. But I'm going to start to get better with that and slow it down just a little bit. Because now that I have enough subscribers, that's what the shorts kind of really do. They help you build your subscriber count. And now that I have, quite a few subscribers, I'm working on my long form content, and that'll help me slow things down a little bit and get my pace together. So once that sauce started to look right, I pulled out my immersion blender to get it nice and smooth. Now, if you don't have an immersion blender, don't stress it out at all. You can carefully pour this into a regular stand blender. Just make sure you don't fill it too high and vent the lid so the steam don't blow the top off. Or if you like a rustic, chunky style sauce, you could just keep mashing it by hand and get it to the consistency that you like. And then add a few more minutes on the cooking time. It's your food. Do whatever works for you. And because I know somebody's gonna ask where I get the immersion blender from, and mine is a KitchenAid brand. And I believe I found this about 7 years ago at a Goodwill store. But lately here I have seen some at Walmart, and I have scrolled past a few on Amazon. So just type up immersion blender or keep your eye out for one if it'll help you out in the kitchen. So I let the sauce simmer for about another 15 minutes after I blended it, and I gave it a taste. Honestly, I could have stopped right here. It was incredible. It was bright and light, slightly sweet from them vine tomatoes, and it had a tiny bit of heat. So if you ain't a fan of spice, just use a little less garlic and definitely omit the red pepper flakes. It's so good. This sauce was perfect as it was. I didn't need to add no more seasonings to it. So now it's time for the heavy cream and the Parmesan cheese. That's the brand I use. So I used about 2 cups of the heavy cream. And I'll be honest, y'all, at first I thought, Lord, I done ruined the sauce. Because I thought I had added too much, but I just kept rolling with it. Like I said, I don't really follow recipes, y'all. I just season and pour. So, another tip for y'all, always season to your taste. Start small with your salt and pepper because it's so easy to add more later than it is to try and balance it out once you done overdone it. So, after the cream, I stirred that fresh basil in we prepped earlier, and I added about 2 cups of shaved Parmesan cheese, and I let that melt until the sauce was silky and rich. And then I tossed in about a pound and a half of cooked bow tie pasta. So while the sauce was doing this thing, I had some grilled chicken going on the side, and I plated the pasta and topped it with that juicy chicken. And man, this dish was a 10 out of 10, y'all. I highly recommend you give this a try. It is a total crowd pleaser, and it feels fancy without being difficult. I mean, look at that sauce, just how it clings to them bow ties. It's velvety, it's rich, but because of them fresh tomatoes, it doesn't feel heavy at all. It's the kind of meal that makes you want to slow down and really enjoy every single bite. Look, if you plan on making this, let me know down in the comments. I want to hear how yours turns out and if you added your own little twist to it. I'll leave the full list of ingredients I use in the description box below so you can reference when you're at the store. And if you enjoy hanging out in the kitchen with me today, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and share this video with someone who needs some dinner inspiration. And if you're new here and like what you see, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. I'm trying to build a whole community of confident home cooks here, and I'd love to have you along for the journey. Now, I done showed you how to bake it. You better go on and make you some. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.